When would you say we concretely knew that widespread welfare fraud was occurring in Minnesota?
There have been reports since 2009 from the Office of Legislative Auditor. I would say the credible reports on child care fraud started surfacing 2011 to 2013.
So for over a decade.
Yes, sir.
When do you think Governor Walz knew about this fraud?
From the very beginning. He was running for governor in 2018 when there were prosecutions going on, when there was an OLA report, active cases in the news all the time.
Got it. So would you say this is the Somali population is an important demographic for Democrats to win over politically?
Unquestionably.
Got it. And do you think it would have hurt Democrats' political standing with the Somali population to investigate this fraud?
Very clearly.
Got it. So in other words, you're saying that there was a political incentive to cover up widespread Somali fraud. Is that right?
100%.
Chair recognizes Mr. Gill from Texas for the first question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing so expeditiously. We all know this is an important issue, not just in terms of welfare fraud, but also immigration more broadly. So we appreciate it, and thank you for the witnesses for taking the time to come here. I want to start with you, Mr. Balu. Again, thank you for being here. Let me ask you, does large-scale Somali immigration make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Certainly stronger.
Certainly stronger. Do you know what percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on food stamps?
No.
54%. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Well, to be clear, a majority of the
It's 7%. There's a big difference between 54% and 7%, is there not?
Excuse me, sir. Could I answer the question?
Let me move on. We've got a lot of questions here. What percentage of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on Medicaid?
I don't know.
It's 73%. Do you know what that number is for Minnesota native households?
Again, you're using the phrase Minnesota native households, but the majority.
The number is 18%. That's quite an astounding difference. I think we would agree.
Can I answer the question, please?
Let me ask you one more, and then we can go on to that. What percentage of Somali-headed households are on welfare in general?
I don't know.
It's 81%. What about, let me just ask you, after 10 years of being in the United States, what percentage of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare?
I don't know.
The number is 78%. So even after 10 years, 78% of Somali immigrant households continue to be on welfare. Do you know what that number is for native Minnesota-headed households?
Again, you're using the phrase,
non-Somali immigrant-headed households.
If I can just answer the question, when you're using the phrase native Minnesotans, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are as Minnesotan as any of us. They were born in the United States. It's only 8,000 of the 108,000 Somali.
Nevertheless, the welfare usage is astoundingly different. Let me ask you again, does that make Minnesota stronger or weaker?
Again, I'd like the opportunity to answer the question here.
Go for
so, again, the majority of Somali Minnesotans are born in the United States, as I understand it.
Okay, well, what percentage of working-age Somalians who have been in the U.S. for 10 years or more, how many of them speak English very well?
I don't know.
About half. The answer is about half. That seems pretty low, doesn't it?
Again, I keep trying to.
It doesn't sound like something that makes our country stronger to me, and I think most Americans would agree with me on that. I need to move on. Ms. Robbins, when would you say we concretely knew that widespread welfare fraud was occurring in Minnesota?
There have been reports since 2009 from the Office of Legislative Auditor. I would say the credible reports on child care fraud started surfacing 2011 to 2013.
So for over a decade.
Yes, sir.
When do you think Governor Walz knew about this fraud?
From the very beginning. He was running for governor in 2018 when there were prosecutions going on, when there was an OLA report, active cases in the news all the time.
And what was the Walz administration's response?
They actually did nothing when they got into office, and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan had been on the committee in the legislature that had hearings on child care fraud, and when they got into office, they did put $5 million into a little more money, but nothing changed.
But nothing. And let me ask you, Mr. Hudson, thank you for being here. Did those who commit this fraud, do they typically vote for Republicans or Democrats, in your opinion?
In my opinion, thank you for qualifying it like that, I would say they most definitely overwhelmingly vote for Democrats.
Do they typically donate to Republicans or Democrats?
Not to my knowledge. They
In your
they don't
opinion?
donate to Republicans, they donate to Democrats, in my opinion, yes.
Got it. So would you say this is the Somali population is an important demographic for Democrats to win over politically?
Unquestionably.
Got it. And do you think it would have hurt Democrats' political standing with the Somali population to investigate this fraud?
Very clearly.
Got it. So in other words, you're saying that there was a political incentive to cover up widespread Somali fraud. Is that right?
100%.
Got it. Let me ask all three of you. Did the Walz administration and Democrats intentionally, in your opinion, overlook this fraud while it was happening for political gain? I'll start with you, Ms. Robbins.
Absolutely. We have credible whistleblower reports that the Department of Human Services administration up to the OIG and the commissioner met with a group called the Minnesota Minority Child Care Association multiple times, and that they were trying to weaken protections. We wanted,
Right.
we had several changes we wanted to do, and they opposed all of them.
And Mr. Hudson and Ms. Rarick, and then my time is up.
I would agree.
Absolutely. The whistleblowers confirm it.
Got it. Thank you.
Chair now recognizes Ranking Member Garcia.
Thank you. I just want to clarify one thing. I just want to be very clear that a vast majority of those Somali Minnesotans are United States citizens, and Somali Americans have as much right to access those services, or any Somalis, as United States members of Congress. They have the same right to access services, and we're talking about U.S. citizens. Let me also just clarify, Mr. Hudson, you said in your opening remarks that I had said that no fraud exists, and I think you can feel free to run the tape. That's not what I said. What I have been talking about, what's important for us to remember, is that wherever fraud exists, we should take it on, and we should hold folks accountable. And when people commit fraud and people get hurt, there's going to be repercussions, as there should be. We can all agree to that. We want to hold fraudsters accountable. We want to protect the victims and innocent people, so that those that can access services can continue to access services across this country. That's how it should work. But we also know that's not how it should work according to President Trump. Now, let's actually talk about real fraud and some fraudsters. Now, we all know that recently, here in Florida, President Trump granted a get-out-of-jail-free pardon to Philip S. Forms. Now, Mr. S. Forms is a nursing home mogul convicted of schemes to defraud Medicare and Medicaid of $1.3 billion. Where is that hearing? This guy just didn't steal from taxpayers. He took advantage of thousands of people, admitting them to nursing homes and living facilities that could not help them. His network of doctors gave out dangerous and harmful treatments and prescribing opioids to drug addicts just to make more money. In 2019, when S. Forms was sentenced, Trump's own DOJ issued a press release that quoted that the man behind one of the biggest healthcare frauds in history will be spending 20 years in prison. 20 years in prison, the DOJ said. Just 14 months later, Donald Trump let him walk free with a pardon. In October of this year, on his 56th birthday, S. Forms was arrested on domestic violence charges. Let's look at another case, another Trump case. Joseph Schwartz, he was sentenced for taking advantage of nursing home residents and workers and defrauding the government of $38 million. Where is that hearing? Schwartz paid lobbyists almost $1 million to secure a pardon from the president, and it worked. In November of this last year, a full and unconditional pardon was granted by President Trump for this enormous amount of fraud. Now let's look at Paul Walzak, a tax cheat whose crimes cost taxpayers almost $1.1 billion, dwarfing what we're talking about today, as he made lavish purchases like a $1 million luxury yacht. Now, Mr. Walzak was supposed to spend 18 months in prison, a fraudster who we want to go after. He should have been held accountable for his crimes. And he was supposed to pay $4.4 million back to the taxpayers. While this pardon application was pending, his mom was invited to a $1 million per person candlelight dinner at Mar-a-Lago with President Trump. She attended, and less than 3 weeks later, her son received a full and unconditional pardon. Now, I'm assuming that our witnesses here today would think this is horrific fraud and would disagree with these pardons. I'd like to do you agree with this pardon? I'd like to begin with our witnesses.
Sir, I've not looked at facts of the case or the law, so I cannot make a statement on that.
So you can't make a statement on these pardons. You haven't read anything about them in the news, apparently. These are pardons to criminals and fraudsters that our witnesses clearly have no interest in. Now, in Trump's America, rich people can rip innocent people off whenever they want and get a pardon. And the answer to fraud here is to cut off benefits to innocent people. Most of these folks are innocent people and kids who just need their services. Donald Trump's decision to freeze $10 billion in social services funding to 5 states does not hold criminals accountable. It hurts the very people who are harmed by fraud in the first place. Mr. Ballou, just finally, you are from Minnesota yourself. How are Minnesotans on the ground being hurt by Trump's political retribution crusade?
Well, the practical effect is that the pause on payments for child care services and Medicaid services are going to result in hundreds of thousands of the neediest Minnesotans being denied, in some cases, literally life-saving payments.
And also, as we've been discussing here, there is a large, of course, immigrant community and a community that makes Minnesota stronger. Can you tell us how innocent people in the Somali community are being directly harmed?
Well, you hear about the threats that are happening against the Somali community. You're hearing about the broad demonization that's happening against them in the media generally. I think, I know we're running out of time here, but if you look at the statistics, I believe it's 82 Somali Americans have been indicted so far. Out of 108,000 Somali Minnesotans in the state overall, that's something like a 0.07% criminal rate. When you compare that to 1/3 of all Americans have a criminal record, and I think it's 40% or approximately of white men under the age of 23 have been arrested. I don't think the statistics really compare.
Thank you, sir, and I yield back.